by the name of Eddie Leonsky, who was one of the soldiers stationed here in Melbourne. No one took much notice of Eddie Leonsky. He was a bit of a loner, but quite attractive. Blonde hair. But he had a bit of a strange affliction. And in May of that year, with no warning at all, he went out in the space of a few days and killed 3 women in Melbourne. He went out with one of them. 2 of them were strangers, one of them he actually dated for a night. Their bodies were found, naked, but not raped, just murdered, strangled. These are known as the brownout murders. The expression brownout. That's when basically people had to turn their lights off at night, so it's just in case we had, people flying above, so the lights were out. So Melbourne was kind of dark, and during this dark period, the brownout murders occurred. And Melbourne went into complete panic for a while there. 3 women in the space of a few days. These 3 women, very close together. May 3rd, May 9th, and May 18th. All killed. It's traced back to Eddie Leonsky, who confessed quite quickly, actually, what to do with him, because he's an American soldier, he was an Australian citizen. So in a rather unusual circumstance, the American government sent out people to run the trial in Australia, but with Americans running the trial. He was found guilty and sentenced to be hanged. When they asked him why he had killed these women, hadn't raped them, wasn't considered to be a sexual crime, he had the most unusual response. You want to know the Leonsky story? You want to know why he murdered them? What he wanted from them? He wanted their voices. He wanted their voices. He loved the sound of female voices. He famously sang the song, "It's a lovely day tomorrow, tomorrow is a lovely day." The violin song, to everyone's shock. And this is his cell, cell 52. I'm take you inside. You notice when you walk in, there's something rather unusual on the floor. I'll explain that. Who'd like to come inside the cell?
Hello. Yeah.
How many people can fit in, do you think? This is a standard size cell, ladies and gentlemen.
They're quite spacious, these cells, as you can see. Don't really have any ventilation. They don't really have any natural light either. But some people say the reason why the singing strangler, the brownout strangler, used to kill people was because he had an obsession with the dark arts. He used to be a devil worshipper, and so he'd transform from saviour by day to predator at night. It's almost like he had a split personality according to the other servicemen. And people have said late at night, sometimes they can hear a very strange, high-pitched female singing emanating through the cells, even though there's no one here anymore.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At 5 steps. So if you're exercising, 5 steps from end to end, that's going to be pretty boring after a while, isn't it?
It's a bit very hot in here, too,
Yeah.
reckon in the summertime.
And cold in winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will traverse all 3 floors of this building. We'll go into 2 outside areas as well. A total of 186 people were hanged in Victoria. The last hanging was 1967, 186, 5 of those were women. Initially, when people were hanged, not hung, so it was hanged, what do you do with the body afterwards? Does the family get it back? Is it cremated? What do you do? Well, there was a time when bodies were taken back by the families if they wanted to. There was a famous bushranger, George Melbourne, and he was hanged from Victoria. His wife decided she ran a fish shop in Collins Street and selling oysters amongst other things. And once he'd been hanged for his bushranging activities, she claimed the body. They said, okay, fine, no problem. What did she do with that body? Well, she was a smart woman, or a bizarre woman. She took the body in its entirety, and she cleared out all the fish and the oysters in the window of her shop, which had lice in it, and she laid his body out in the window of her shop. in Collins Street and put a canvas around it and charge people to come in and check out the body. And make a $5 money, as you put it, sort of an unusual sight to see people pay to check out George's body lying in a shop window while she's selling fish 50 feet away.
Walt Disney wasn't the first one to be tried for frozen, I guess.
Probably not, yeah. So after that, that's what really caused the government to say, well, from now on, the bodies are given in the hanged within prisons, the bodies will retain the bodies in prison, will not let them be taken by the families. And so bodies started buried in plots at Pentridge, probably plots actually just buried at Pentridge. And then came time when they decided to move those bodies. And move here, where we're about to go now. In the process, though, some parts of this body that nicked, they took quite a while to resume all the bodies at Pentridge, a bit come along and nick bones and bits of body, so some bits went missing, including famously, of course, Ned Kelly's skull. So they program on earlier this year called Ned's Head.
Yep.
Yeah. And some guy later in West Australia complained that he had found Ned Kelly's skull. It was tested and tested, and actually it wasn't Ned Kelly's skull. It was not Frederick Dean's skull. So to this day, Ned Kelly's skull is still missing. I'm sorry, the rest of his body was still known.
You guys, they would hang around and try and catch some of the bodies. They knew Ned Kelly was there, they knew Frederick Deeming was there, and they'd sneak in at night time and try and steal the bones. And several people actually claimed to have stolen Ned Kelly's bones from the old Melbourne jail. So they decided to reinter all the bodies here at Pentridge. Now these bodies were forgotten about for many years. We also had our own hangings here and buried bodies here just to add to the stockpile, but everyone assumed they'd vanished. They assumed they'd been stolen, they disintegrated. They used to use quicklime as well to disintegrate the bones, so they thought they would have just disappeared. However, the developers were very nervous that perhaps they might come across a body. They went for a permit with Heritage Victoria and they were given permission to dig. Now one day a little old man walked into the development site, kind of like in a movie I guess, and he said, I've got a map that shows 3 mass graves at Pentridge Prison. It was a very old map and he was convinced bodies were still here, which just gave more credit to the idea they could still be on site. They did find bodies on site that they exhumed and they reinterred most of them out the back of D Division. However, they could not find Ned Kelly's body. He was missing, his skull was missing, his body was missing. He was the last body they found on this very site. They were digging one day, they found an axe box and they found Ned Kelly's remains, the most perfectly intact skeleton that they came across, minus the head.